Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in our previous video, we were learning about how to install Python and get started with Python on your Windows machine, Mac OS, or Linux operating system. And that also includes the installation of the IDE, which is your integrated development environment, which is either PyCharm or VS Code. All right. So in this tutorial, we're going to be learning on how or what is variables in Python. Okay, and I'll be walking you guys through the step-by-step guides on what is variables, how to declare it, how to refer to it, and a lot of good stuff. All right, without further ado, let's get started. All right, first things foremost, which you guys need to check on your local machine, all right, is the Python installation, if it's still there. All right, so simply type in Python, open your terminal, all right, or Windows or command prompt, or even Microsoft PowerShell on the Windows machines. So first type in Python 3 -- version. All right, as you guys can see it here, Python 3 -- version, and then press enter. You guys will now see the Python version that is installed on your local machine. In this case, this is Python 3.8.12 on my local machine here. All right, so that is one of the important stuff. All right, now that's done. All right, before we get started with a lot of different things and good stuff, okay, let's now try to go into our Python environment here. Okay, this is the shell, Python shell. Okay, you do not need a typing version, all right? Just type in Python. Okay, now you're currently inside the shell of Python. Okay, so this exactly works like how a command line interface would work. It's just one line, and then you'll just iterate over, or even speed up their values. All right. So as you guys saw in the previous video, I was showing you guys what is the value of 3 plus 2 or 3 plus 3. Okay, and therefore it gave me 5. Okay, it gave me 5. And another thing is that if I try to type in print hello, and therefore it gave me hello. Okay, and if I type in input, what is your name, and then therefore it allows me to input the thing. I mean input the data or even the name. Okay, I'm gonna put in inspector gadget, and it gave me a string with inspector gadget filled in inside. All right, so this is the Python shell. It exactly works like how you would exactly type in, yeah, as you would type in a code editor and all that. It's just used for debugging and simple kind of things. All right, like some calculations and all of that you like to get it done quickly without even having to write the code in a code editor or even a code file. All right, so now that is done, let's put in quit with parentheses. Do not forget. Now you have now quit out of the shell itself. Okay, now you're back to your terminal. On Windows, to clear out the terminal, you have to type in CLS, but on Linux or Mac OS, just type in clear. Okay, so that is the thing. All right, now let's get started. Okay, now we have our Python integrated Python environment inside Python 3.8, or namely it can be Python 3.9 on the end if you're installing it at this current time, which is September 25. All right, 2021. And that is when, I mean, it doesn't matter if your version is higher or lower. It can be lower by one version, like 3.7 or 3.6. That is fine. Okay, as long as it is, I mean, is in the same range of versions, it should be okay. It should be okay. All right, so let's get started. All right, now let's open up our browser here. In our browser, we can probably go to python.org. Okay, if you guys have not installed Python, this is where you guys can install it for your flavor of your operating system, Windows, Mac OS, or any other different platforms like Linux and all of that. It might have the tar, gz, or it might have the distribution files inside here. All right, so let's go to the documentations. All right, Python docs. Okay, this is the Python docs. Usually, there will be a beginner's guide. I mean, there's a beginner's guide on how we can get started. Okay, if it's too if it's too hard, or even if it's too confusing, okay, then I would not suggest you to read this guide because it can be confusing. I'll just say that to you. All right, can be confusing. But anyways, this is one of the alternatives, but that is not the point here. In this video, I'm going to teach you guys step by step and hands-on mode. All right, So let's get started here. Let's open up your Visual Studio Code or even Python. Okay, it depends on which flavor of operating system you want to run through. All right. Now you'll be greeted with a welcome page from VS Code if you have opened it for the first time. Okay, and since I did not open it for the first time, I do have a few recent projects here. You might not have any if you have cleanly installed VS Code on a machine. Okay, and if you click on the side here, this is the file explorer. So this is exactly the same as Finder. All right, this is the same as Finder, and this is also same as the file explorer that you have on your Windows machine. Okay, and it can be any file explorer that is available on any distribution or any flavor of Linux, either Ubuntu and a lot of different distributions. All right, and here is search. So it searches through all the files that you have in your code base, okay, for the exact string, and you can even make it to replace things for you if you're into that. All right, and this works with all the files. Okay, and this is the source control, and this source control is for Git. Okay, Git is a code repository manager. Okay, it's called versioning system as well, in different terms. All right, so that is Git is what we use. I mean, as developers, we use Git to version our code changes, like the commits and whatever changes that you did to the code, and then that is exactly where like a log, a history, like, hey, I changed this code, and therefore here you have the commit history and a lot of different things. It logs on a lot of different things. But that is not the case here. I will explain on what Git is and a step-by-step on Git itself in a different playlist or different video. All right. And this is a run and debug. This is usually used for a lot of different languages. All right. But then in this case, if you are looking into testing Python, unit testing and all of that, you can write a launch.json file, all right, inside the code base. There are a few guides on how you can do that, all right, and that will automatically run and debug your code line by line, all right. That is also called unit testing. And now we have extensions, all right. In extensions, I have a few things installed inside here. I have the community material team, which is the team that you're looking at right now. And I have the material team itself, the main flavor, and I have Python installed. All right, I have Pylance. All right, so let me do a quick reload and we get started with that. All right, and now we have Pylance and Python installed. So what is Pylance? So Pylance is a performant feature-rich language server for Python and VS Code. So what it does is Pylance looks or it searches through documentations of Python and gives you suggestions on what functions you can use. All right, while you're typing it. Okay, and here Python, this is the main language source for the code that you're writing. All right, and this is often used and it is often needed actually for the runtime of your Python code itself. Okay, namely it can be used for Linux. I mean, for linting, debugging, code navigation, code formatting, refactoring, variables explorer, test explorer, and even more. You can even use IntelliSense, which is exactly what Pylance is called, IntelliSense. All right, and yeah, and you guys can search for many different packages here. They have a lot here, like Google, like Cloud Code, then Kubernetes, Docker, remote containers, and all different things. All right. Without further ado, let's get started. And here is account. If you have any syncing to do, if you have logged in into any previous, or if you have accounts under any previous VS Code installation, you can sync the settings there, and then it will automatically download the sync settings here, all right, from the cloud, and apply it. And here we have the command palette and a lot of different things. Okay. All right. Let's close all the tabs, and yeah, let's get started. So as you click on this, all right, Explorer, you might not see anything here. You might see it exactly like this. Okay, let's click on File. Okay, New File. Let's close it back. Another way to do it is Control B or Command B. Okay, you might open and close this panel on the side. Okay, and here let's save this file as a name. Let's give it a name. Okay, in this case, let's go there, inspect the gadget. All right, documents, Python project. I'm gonna make a new folder here. I'm gonna call it video variables. I'll call it variables. All right, a folder called variables, and then I'm going to name this file as run.py. All right, please ensure there's something called .py behind. This is exactly the file extension for Python files or Python codes, and this is really important. And otherwise, your code will never run. All right, and save. Once you have saved it, now you guys notice that it is now using Python language, which it has auto-detected from the .py file, from the extension, and we are now using Python 3.9.7. All right, so you guys can switch to different environments. All right, and it all depends. If you have 3.9.7, which is installed by default by Homebrew, if you're on macOS, or you can be even different, or even Linux itself, Homebrew with Linux, it automatically install 3.9.7. You can install a lot of different versions. 2.7 is the default that comes within the macOS, which is Apple based, and and it's not removable. So you might keep it there, but do not use it. But you guys can use Python 3.8.2. It depends on how many versions you have installed. In this case, I have 3 versions installed that I can use. For sake of simplicity, I'm going to use the same version that I showed from the terminal, 3.8.12. So now I have switched to 3.8.12, 64-bit Python installation. All right. First things foremost, now we have that file there. Okay. Now we have file. So the file is currently located. If you look into that, let me open up the folder quickly. All right. So this is the file. Okay. And it's currently located in one of my folders inside the Python project, documents, Python project, variables, and then there you go, it's there. All right. And if you guys have PyCharm installed, it automatically create association for .py files, and you guys will see the logo here of PyCharm. All right. I'm going to click on these variables. All right. I'm going to keep it here. I'm going to pull it here. Therefore, we have now opened the variables folder inside of your Explorer. All right. And therefore, this is the project folder, and this is the file inside the project. Okay. And how to do it without dragging and dropping? All right. This is the way. You guys can go here. All right. So in this case, you guys can click in, or you guys can key in Command or Control O. It will open up this Finder tab or even File Explorer to load in the files. I'm gonna click on the folder name, okay? And then you're gonna click on Open, and therefore it has now opened. Since I have already opened it, so it didn't do anything else. It was just static with its animations. All right. Now I'm gonna open up the runpy file, okay? So you guys can see this is a very clean text editor of text lines here. Okay, first things foremost, as you guys knew, I'm gonna type in print. Hello, bro. Okay, and the best thing about VS Code is that you guys can have the integrated terminal. All right, you guys can have the integrated terminal. In this case, you guys can click on this up here, that, or you guys can type in command plus backtick, okay, which is this on your keyboard. All right, that, or control plus backtick, which is exactly the same thing as well. All right, so either of that and it'll work. In this case, it'll open up like this and close like this. All right, in this case, let's do it. Okay, now we have our integrated terminal here open. If you type in ls means list directory. On Windows, it will be dir. Then it will be starting to list all the files inside the directory. Okay, and then we're going to type in Python 3 runpy. Therefore, we have hello world. Okay, so Python 3 runpy, what it does is Python 3 is the language itself, the compiler, and run.py is the file. So we're calling in the compiler and we're passing in the second arguments, which is the file name itself. Therefore, Python 3 runpy, and it will run. Okay, so let's clear all of this. Let's start with the most basic of all, which is comments in your code. All right, how do we comment in your code? in Python or in different languages, okay, sometimes it can be like this. If you're looking into different languages, okay, if you put two slash and then you type in hello, this whole line will be graded off, which means that it is not called in or it is not pulled in by any compilers. Okay, therefore the whole line is ignored. All right. And each language, although each language has its own way of commenting the code, and though commenting is usually used in bigger projects where you guys comment on codes, so you can let any other developers working in the team to know that this function does this, and then this is how a function is being built and all the different things. Okay, so in this case for Python, it will be hashtag hello. Since that, I mean, I'm gonna put in hashtag this is a command. Okay, and you guys can have it multi-line. So in this case, hello world. This is me again. All right, multi-line. So in Python, there are two ways of commenting a code. Okay, one way, namely, is this to having a hashtag in front of that, which means that the whole line is ignored now. All right, therefore it is now on this grayed out now. All right, or another way is that you guys can type in this, okay, which is three, okay, three quotes and three quotes. Usually, if in VS Code, you type in one quote and then another shift quote, it closes out that quote, and then you type in again one more quote, and then therefore it comes up with the entire thing. It auto fills it up. But please also make sure that there's three up here and three down here. If you have four here, it will not work. It will start erroring out itself. Okay, that is the pro tip there. And then in this case, with this, you guys can type in multi-line without having to open it up again. So this is a command. And then I want to put it hello. Well, this is me again. All right. So both of this will work. And now if you run the code on your terminal, nothing will run because all of these lines are meant to be ignored. All right. Therefore, it will not run. So that is the basics of how commenting works in Python. Okay, this is one of the important things, and we'll be utilizing this a lot more later on in this tutorial or in this entire learning Python for beginners series. All right. First things foremost, let's learn about print. Okay, printing basically means that you're trying to print something on the terminal. All right, this can be anything. It can be even numbers. Print 1 plus 1. All right. Now I have print 1 plus 1, which exactly means 2. And this is exactly the same thing that we did here. In this case, if I quickly open up the shell, okay, I'm gonna put in 1 plus 1, 2. And that is exactly the same thing as this. All right, it's exactly the same thing. Even if I put in print 1 plus 1, and it will be the same as well. Do you see the correlation? So that is exactly how it works. Okay, print writes it up to the terminal output itself. Okay, that. And for print itself, there can be a lot of different ways. In this case, I'm gonna put in hello world, and I'm gonna put in hello YouTube, and therefore, if I can type that properly, and there you go, hello YouTube, hello world. So that's exactly how print works in Python. Okay, and print is usually used in a lot of different projects as well. It is not a thing that is not used widely. Therefore, I mean, print is actually used widely in a lot of different projects as well. It can be even production projects, or if it can even be a big code base and all of different things. All right, so that is something that you guys will need to check and you guys will need to understand, because programming is all about understanding the concept. And once you have got a concept, then it'll be quite easy for you to actually get things rolling, right? That, and then yeah. Now let's talk about functions, okay? Important functions, or even declaring variables. All right, variables. Variables are something that stores temporarily, that is stored temporarily in your code base. And variables usually reside in your RAM, okay, random access memory of your computer. And once you have shut down your computer or restart your computer, your RAM might be cleared off, which means your computer will never understand or it will never remember anything that you have stored to it while you were using the computer. Okay, so variables are basically like you're assigning. Okay, in this case, let me type it out here since we know how to write in quotes. What are variables? So let's say variables are a method or let's say a value key pair that is used to save volatile values. So what do I mean by volatile values? All right, now that you are assigning a variable, okay, a variable example like name equals to inspector gadget. Okay, inspector gadget is a value that is stored to a variable name until the point that you are still running the code. If you stop the code and then if you rerun it again without without declaring it back or reassigning the values to the variable itself, it will not work. All right, you will never understand that you will never understand or you never know that inspector gadget was assigned to the variable name previously. Okay, and that is very crucial to understand that they are basic concepts, and usually variables are called as volatile because those volatile means that it might not remember it or it might not know what the value is right after a restart of the script or restart of the laptop. It's exactly the same as your RAM in your computer. RAM is also called as a volatile memory. All right, so that is the same exact concept, and that is how it works. So now let's start with how we're looking at how we can declare a variable. Okay, first variable will be name. Okay, for name, I'm gonna put, yeah, you guys can directly do it. If you look into different languages like JavaScript or something, it'll come into const name equals to something. Okay, or let name equals to something. In Python, it is very straightforward. In this case, I'm gonna put in variable name. Once again, this is a comment. Make sure you guys have the hashtag. All right, this is called single line comment, and this is called multi-line comment. All right. So the first one will be variables. I mean variable name. In this case, we're putting name equals to inspector gadget. Okay. Now, if you guys notice, give some space. All right. Now, if you guys notice, name means the value inspector gadget is now assigned to the name to the variable called name. And even if you hover over it, now it will show you that variable name is a literal, which is literal means this literal string. Okay, literal to inspector gadget. All right, so that it basically means that yes, Pylance Pylance, which is IntelliSense, has noticed that we have now assigned a variable here. Okay, in this case, it'll be easy. Now, if you want to print out the values of this variable, you guys can type in directly print name, and there you go, inspector gadget is out. Okay, and you guys notice here, inspector gadget is out. And that's exactly how you can declare. That is how you can declare and print out variables, all right, in Python. And another thing that is very fun, okay, in Python, there are a lot of different data types, which data types we shall explain in the next video. Python do have a lot of different data types, and each data types have a different serve. I mean, they serve different purposes and how it is interpreted across the code base, all of that. Okay, that. And now, since just now we have print below the variable name, all right, and it worked. But what if the print name is above that? The IDE said that it is an error here. It does not detect or doesn't know what the name variable means. Okay, well, let's try that. And now it says the name is not defined, or the variable name is not defined because there is no assignation for it. So if I move it up here and if I run it again, now it knows that it's inspector gadget. Okay, that is exactly how it works. All right, that. And now let's talk about, now we have something. The variables can even work in different things. Example like let's put x equals to 2, y equals to 3, and print 2 plus 3. Therefore, it is 2 plus 3 is 5, and therefore it is, wait, hold on, my mistake, x plus y. There you go. X plus y is equals to 5 now, which is 2 plus 3. All right. And that is exactly how it is. All right. That is exactly how variables works. And there are a lot of ways of how you guys can declare and use variables. All right. There are a lot of ways as well as I told you. One of the ways could be in a single line as well. Okay. How can we do it in a single line? All right. So example, there are a lot of different methods, and one of the methods would be called unpacking. So if you're looking into unpacking a variable, all right, this is something that's extra that I'm going to teach here today, but then we'll be going into unpacking and more advanced way of how you guys can use this, all right, in the near future, all right. So in this case, x plus y, okay, now we've assigned it to a array or list. This is called unpacking, all right. Unpacking list, which or array to xy variable. All right. So now if you try to run it, we get 5, which worked. All right, there you go. It worked. And this is one of the ways that many people use it. I mean, use how you guys can set variables, unpack it, and use it across different functions inside the code and all of that, all of the good stuff. If you have a data set, or if you're looking into a application or Python, let's say a Python code base or what application or software, whatever it is, okay? If it's too big or if it's something that is too huge, if you guys can introduce or you guys can implement ways like this that can make your life easier. In this case, like defining variables exactly like this and unpacking it, using it across and other different things. Okay, which we will cover all of it later on in the tutorial or in the series itself. Okay, until a point that we understand how it works with assigning, reassigning, and other different things. All right. So in this case, the next one would be input, which is actually, I mean, you guys can reassign variables. All right. Reassign variables to hello. Okay, reassigning variables works. For example, like now it has that first name. I mean, the first assigning of the name of the variable name is inspector gadget. Then later on in the end, at line 22, we have now switched the name variable assignation value to hello, and that would indeed still work. All right, but you may not see inspector gadget anymore because we have replaced it. All right, we have replaced it. Replacing the value. All right. So that is exactly how it works. In this case, we were replacing that, and then yeah. So that's how it works. Another thing that I would like to show you guys is, let me quickly put some space. I want to show you guys on input. All right. How do we get, or let's say while the application is running, while the code is being executed, how do we get the input of the users? Like how we can ask them to type in their own names and all the different things. All right. It's very simple. In this case, name. It's the same thing. I'm going to call it, I'm going to assign I'm going to assign the values that the user typed in inside a console to a variable called name. Right? In this case, going to put in name equals to input. Okay, input. These are the prompt. Okay, if you guys can see it here, read a new string from the standard input. A trailing new line is stripped. All right, and if you look into the prompt, this is str, which means string. All right, I'm going to say what is your name. That, all right, what is your name? And now they can type in a name. And if I want to print back the name that they typed in, okay, I can simply do name. I'm going to put in your name is, okay, name. So in Python, if you look into this, your name is name. This means that we are concatenating or we are binding in the variable name into the string here. Therefore, it will become a one-liner. All right. And now if you want to look into how it works, let's first comment off all these lines. We do not need them now. All right. And then now let's run it. And then now it's asking me what is my name. Okay, I'm gonna put in Inspector Gadget, and there you go. Your name is Inspector Gadget. All right, that is how it works. And there is also another way of how you guys can concatenate variables inside the string itself. Another one will be f string. F string means now you guys can type in directly the variable names without having the chance of putting in class name or anything else. Okay. In this case, your name is curly braces name, which means you are now binding in the variable called name inside the string. Therefore, it will be, hold on, your name is Inspector Gadget. All right. So that is basically it for variables, and it's quite straightforward, yeah. And as we dive deeper into the series, we'll be learning into a lot of different methods of also implementing how data types works. All right, including integer, string, float, boolean, all different things, and also more into unpacking and even packing variables. All right, and a lot of different things that comes into Python. While we reach to the final destination, would be we probably make something else like a small and cute little script that works like a tic-tac-toe game or something, a calculator or something. All right, so that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I mean, for this video on variables. And variables are basically denote variables as volatile, and they are very temporary. All right. And these temporary variables are really temporary, which means that if your script stops or your computer restarts or crashes in between, that is the end of it. It'll forget whatever it is, and you have to start back the entire process once again by running the script. All right. So this is pretty much it for this tutorial. And thank you guys for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and peace out.